Matters on Radio Castledermot with John Phelan.
Great, Tommy. Good evening, everyone, and you're very welcome here to Radio Castledermot for our Christmas special of What Matters. I'm delighted I'm going to be joined here this evening by James O'Gorman, and James is going to bring us through our Christmas dinner and give us loads of hints on what we're going to be eating next Sunday. And then I'm going to be joined by Laura Dunn, and Laura is coming from Life Pharmacy, and Laura is going to show us a few gift ideas from Life Pharmacy, and also she's going to show us how to wrap those all-important presents. So after that, we are going to have the Castledermot Choir going to join us to finish off our show with some great Christmas songs. So delighted that you're all here joining us, and I'm going to go straight over now, and we're going to be joined by James O'Gorman. James, you're very welcome to Radio Castledermot, and thanks a million for coming in.
John, thanks a million for having me, and it's a pleasure to be here.
So James, you're from O'Gorman Meats here in Castledermot, for anybody who doesn't know you.
Correct. And
we'll talk a little bit about O'Gorman Meats. And you're based up there on the square in Castledermot, and you have your, I suppose, factory up out on the Tulla Road. But when was O'Gorman Meats established?
My dad and mum started the business in 1968. They moved into where we are now on the square in Castledermot, and there was a little building at the back that was a slaughterhouse, and that's been a slaughterhouse since 1927. And from there then in the 80s we moved from there up to the Tulla Road in Castledermot, and we continue to have a butcher shop in Castledermot, and we're delighted to say with the support of the community and all the people in Castledermot it does well.
That's great, James, and I suppose first of all from everyone here in Radio Castledermot, thanks a million for all the support that you give us here. As everyone knows, O'Gorman Meats are the main sponsor of my show What Matters, and have been since I started a number of months ago. So thanks a million for that, James, and thanks a million again for coming in. So we're going to talk about Christmas Day, and again, it's your busiest time of the year, so it's great for you to actually come in and spend a bit of time with us here in Radio Castledermot. Yeah. And folks, what we're hoping to do is give you a few ideas. We're going to go through the Christmas menu. James is going to talk about making your own soup, so it's going to be fresh from the start. And from that, we're going to go on to meat and veg, some stuffing, and then we'll talk a little bit about desserts. If anybody has any questions, if you want to throw them up on the chat box there, and we'll do our best to answer them. If anything comes up that we can't answer, we will get back to you. So, James, over to you. We're going to talk first of all about soup.
We're going to go on to the soup first, John. So, seasoned vegetables, fresh obviously, so the soup can be made basically from anything, so any type of veg that you like I'm a lover now of carrots, parsnips, onions, celery, things like that. So we can go for a nice traditional soup on the day. It would be a parsnip and a carrot soup, and all we have to do then is just chop up the veg, boil them, add a little bit of chicken stock, salt and pepper. I'm a lover too of garlic, fresh herbs too you can put into your soup. Then you could do maybe a potato. The potatoes too are local. They're from cousins of ours. So you could do a potato and leek soup too, which is another beautiful type of soup. And with the potato too, it helps to give it a little bit of thickness. So when we get our soup and we boil it up, we get it all cooked, all we need then is just a liquidizer. So we boil the veg for about 30 minutes, add our stock, and just liquidize it. And the handy thing about soup is when it's ready, you could make it either the day before or even 2 days before if you like, and it's only a matter of heating it up on the morning, okay? So it's very, very simple, and it's traditional as we can get.
And James, what you're talking there about stock. What stock would you put into the soup?
You could make your own stock, obviously from chicken bones or turkey bones or whatever you have, but I'm just a lover of, there's a kilo on organic vegetable stock, and it's low in salt and things like that, and the flavour of it is beautiful. It really is a good stock.
So, like, you'd use your stock, and like you say, then you've all the fresh vegetables, chop them up into the saucepan.
Into the saucepan and just boil it all up, and just until it's until the veg is soft.
Right,
and then just liquidize it. Use a little hand liquidizer. You could buy them in Argos. You could buy them in most of the shops in Carlow. They're about 15, 20 quid for a liquidizer, and well worth it.
And really, whatever veg you like, you can just chop it up and put it in.
Exactly, and it's a good way of getting veg into kids.
Very good, yeah. That's great, James. So that's a very simple soup.
Simple.
And for all the ladies out there and the men out there, we could prepare it on Christmas Eve and have it ready then for Christmas Day. Just heat it up on Christmas Day.
Yeah, perfect.
And a lot nicer and, like you say, fresher. You know where your veg is coming from. You know where your potatoes are coming from. And it's all fresh.
Fresh. The problem with processed soups is salt is a cheap preservative. So a lot of the soups that we buy in the shops, the packaging, everything looks beautiful. It's all done to perfection, but it's full of salt.
Yeah.
Do you know, and that's the problem with it. Salt just preserves the soup. That's why they can make it maybe a month beforehand and the soup will last on the day. But better off to make your own.
Yes. And so, James, okay, we have the soup done. We're after finishing our soup, and it's time to move on to the main course. So I suppose this is what a lot of people are waiting for. And what we'll do, James, is over to you, of course, and you can lead it. But we'll probably go through the meats and that first.
Of course we will. What we'll do is make the stuffing first. So obviously breadcrumbs. Simple breadcrumbs, you can get them in any shop. You'll get them up in Rats, Beans, Evan Horn's, our own shop. And what I like about the stuffing too is just add onion to the stuffing, and fresh herbs really brings out the flavour in the stuffing. Do you know what I mean? So we have a little bit of thyme, we've coriander, we've basil if you like. Do you know, and just add a little bit of salt and pepper. But the secret to a really good stuffing is just a natural butter, and not the margarines or anything like that. They just don't have the same content that a good butter like Kerrygold or something like that would. Okay, so if I was going to melt my butter, you can melt it in a saucepan, you can melt it in a microwave, and just add it to your stuffing. Do you know what I mean? And then when you do that, you're going to end up with something like this. Now, I've probably added a little bit extra butter to this today, but that's just because it makes it easier to pack the turkey, to stuff the turkey and things like that. That's all.
All right, so all your herbs and all that, James, you just chop them up real small with a good sharp knife.
That's it, good sharp knife, or you can get little graters or anything that you find handy yourself. That's all. But the fresh herbs will give it that, it'll burst with flavour. Do you know, and that's exactly what you want from it. And
those fresh herbs, again, James, are all available here locally in Castledermot, or basically where anybody is. Because, James, we have listeners all over Ireland. We have listeners in Canada, in Scotland, in England, in Spain, in America, all different parts of America. So no matter where they are, James, they'll be able to get these you'll get the fresh herbs.
Everything I have on the table I got within less than 10 kilometres of Castledermot. All the veg today I bought local, all in the town, bits and pieces. Obviously the turkey came from my own shop, the ham came from my own shop, but everything is local. I didn't have to drive into Carlow to get anything.
That's absolutely brilliant, and it is so important. And I know, James, you're a huge believer in keeping your business local.
Support local, definitely.
Keep your business local and keep locals in business. Isn't that the size of it?
That's it, that's correct.
And I suppose some people, James, and it's probably a bit late now, but I know the great Mrs. Phelan Siobhan at home, at times, she grows her own herbs as well.
Brilliant. If you have the time or you have a little pot and plants, things like that, definitely that's an added bonus to anything. And it doesn't take a whole lot of space to grow herbs. And the top restaurants in Dublin now, a lot of them are after putting in these roof gardens. And in fairness to Ireland, like, we have natural light. You know, we have a good atmosphere to grow all these types of herbs, or even a little greenhouse. You could buy a little plastic little greenhouse and grow everything in it. If you wanted.
And so you've your stuffing made here. How long in the oven, James, would the stuffing take?
It's about 30 minutes. But what we're going to do today, you could actually, if you want, you could cook it in the tray. But I like just stuffing the turkey. And when you put it into the turkey too, when turkey is cooking, all the juices and flavours and everything are going into the stuffing as well. All right, so you can do both. You can stuff your turkey with, like what you have here. What you have here, yeah. And stuff the turkey with it, or some people would prefer to cook the stuffing separately. Separately, whichever you prefer. Okay, so you're going to maybe move the big bird over here beside us now, James, and talk about how to stuff your turkey and all. These are just little roasting trays, and you can get them in any of the shops in Castledermot. They're about €2 each, and what I like about them is they just save all the mess after. There's no cleaning, there's no putting a big turkey thing into a, washing it after, like everything is there for £2. So what I've basically done is I've taken the turkey and I've put it into the roasting dish. So obviously if you buy your turkey in our butcher shop, this is exactly what you're going to get. And this is a free-range turkey, and it comes from a farm down in Kilkenny. And we've bought off the same man now for several years as well, okay? So when you buy your turkey, this is what we call an oven-ready turkey. And this turkey is about 15 to 16 pound. And you will notice too that the giblets are always left inside the turkey. And the reason for that is some people like to make the soup out of them, so that's where they will get their stock for the soup, from the giblets, okay? So we'll remove the giblets and we'll just leave them there for now. And all we have to do then is just pick up the stuffing and just pack it in. Pack in the stuffing as much as you can, until the turkey is good and full. Okay, so
you're just rolling it there in your hands, James, and pushing it into the turkey?
Pushing it in as simple as you can get, John, and that's all. And obviously then when you get the turkey full of stuffing, what I like too is these roasting bags. As you can see, I don't like cleaning up after the Christmas dinner. I like everything that's handy. So you can buy these roasting bags in any of the shops in Castledermot too, and they're only a couple of quid. And basically then you just put your turkey into one big bag. I'll actually leave that one to one side for now.
Yeah, we've another turkey over there beside us. So
we've another turkey as well, yeah. So when we put the turkey into the bag, okay, it'll be covered like that. Okay, so that'll keep all the moisture, keep all the flavour, everything. So it's like a vacuum and everything is cooking inside, okay? So if we want to know then how long our turkey cooks and things like that, what I would recommend is a little probe. These are normally about 15, maybe 20 quid in most of the shops in Carlow Town. I don't know whether you can get them in Castledermot, to be honest, but you can get them in Carlow Town. And a turkey will be cooked at 75 degrees. So when you're cooking your turkey, and you might have it on for 2 hours, you just barely stick your probe in. If it says that it's 64 degrees, if it says it's 50 degrees, it's not cooked, okay? So a turkey like this basically would take maybe about 3 hours in an oven. So once that turkey breast reaches 75 degrees, it's cooked. Okay?
And James, sorry there now for cutting in on you. When you have your probe there and you're putting it into the turkey, how long would you leave it in the turkey there to make sure it reads the right temperature?
Well, maybe about 60 to 75 seconds.
All right, yeah. So a minute or thereabouts.
Yeah, that's all, just to know. And another good way of knowing that your turkey is cooked, a little trick that my mum taught me, is the last part to cook on a turkey or a chicken is the legs. So when you're cooking a turkey, if you want to know for 100% if it's cooked, if you twist the leg and the little joint comes out of the bone, that means it's cooked. So you have a turkey then 100% completely cooked throughout.
Well, that's a good one, James, because last week, back up in Ballyvass in the Phelan household, we were cooking a chicken. And I always get the job of cutting the chicken.
Yeah.
And I said to Siobhan, it's strange, Siobhan, sometimes when I go to cut the chicken, sometimes the leg falls off and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's a lot harder to cut it off.
Yeah.
So the trick now is just to move the leg a bit.
Twist
and,
it.
A little twist and see, and then it's cooked.
And that's it. That's exactly how you know your turkey is cooked. And obviously then when you remove the bag from the turkey, you're going to get all the juice and flavours and everything from the turkey, and that's exactly what you want to make your gravy out of. Because you're getting all of that flavour. Obviously, add a little bit of a little bit of stock and gravy granules to it, and that's it. You've an absolutely beautiful homemade gravy that you've made, bursting with flavour as well.
Yeah, because like you say, you have left a bag on it. Nothing has escaped.
Nothing has escaped, and everything is sweating. Obviously, and then you're taking it out of your oven. It's clean. Everything is clean. Everything here is disposable.
Yes, yeah.
And that's it. And obviously then I would recommend maybe holding on to your turkey for about 3 days is probably long enough, and make sure after cooking it that you can fridge it. That's all, and keep it in the fridge.
Right, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And anybody who doesn't have the probe, James, sort of a rough guide on cooking a turkey.
On cooking times and things like that, what we'll do later on is on the Facebook page on Radio Castledermot, we will put up all the cooking times on it. How long it takes to cook a 3 kilo turkey, 4 kilo turkey, 5 kilo turkey, and things like that. But we will have all the cooking times up and the temperatures of your oven. That'll all be up online later on.
Yeah, so that's it, folks. We're going to put it all up on our Facebook page so you can all log in there over the next couple of days, and James is going to give us the rundown on it, on the temperatures, how long it's going to take, just where we don't want any of our lovely listeners to get any food poisoning or anything like that over the Christmas period.
Yeah.
So James, we have the turkey ready now, and it's going to pop into the oven, and we have to probe to see how long it's going to be cooked.
Yeah.
And we all know, along with the turkey, we all like a little bit of ham. Will we talk about the ham now?
We will. We'll go on to the ham next. I'll just move this out of the way. Thanks, Tom. Obviously, as the man said, this is a little ham that I cooked earlier on. So,
like all good shows, here's one I prepared earlier.
So it's just a little piece of centre cut of ham, and I boiled it for about 2.5 hours in this little pot. Okay, so it's ready now. So the ham is cooked through, but what I actually like too is when I take it out, you can remove we take the little twines off it.
Which has been well
tied.
Well tied up there by Brendan up in the shop.
Yeah. And what I like to remove then, some people like the fat on the ham and some people don't, but I have a tendency in our family just to remove the fat. So we will remove the fat from the ham, as is. And
a lot healthier to do that as well, of course, James.
A lot healthier, yeah. So obviously when we get the ham off, or when we get the fat off the ham, we can score it. So we just put little triangles on it. So we're just scoring the ham.
Okay, so for anyone who doesn't know what scoring is, James is just cutting across, putting lines through the ham there. And he's opening up some magic jar here now beside me.
Magic jars, you can get any of the glazes in any shop, even in Castledermot, Carlow, anywhere. But the one I've picked today, it's a whiskey, orange and mustard glaze. It's a glaze that I used last year on my ham, and I just found it really bursting now with flavour. Actually, it's bursting with flavour. So all you literally do, you could get a spoon. You can literally get a spoon or a little brush and just all you're basically doing is rubbing it into the ham, as is, okay? So what you want to do is completely cover the ham then in the glaze, as is, okay? And finish it for about 25 minutes in an oven at 180. And then that'll just give it lovely flavour. So then you'll end up with a nice ham that's glazed and everything.
All right, so you glaze the ham and then put it back into the oven. Or you do that before you cook it, James, is it?
No, the ham is boiled, so now it's glazed. Now just back into the oven for about 25 minutes.
All right.
And that's all. And the flavour of the glaze then and everything will just, it'll just go all around the ham, and it's actually nice.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, yeah. And another little trick that John wanted to talk about was, you might notice there's a bottle of Coke here.
And it's not for the vodka.
No, it's not. I like my vodka neat anyway. So it's not for the vodka, but you can actually cook your ham in Coke. You can cook it in ginger ale. You could cook it in cider if you like. But Coke is a nice way of cooking a ham, and it gives it a lovely sweet flavour. But if you were going to cook it in Coke or ginger ale or cider, you wouldn't need a glaze. You don't need a glaze on the ham then, because you want to get the flavour of the Coke or whatever from the ham.
Yes, yeah. So that's just another option there, folks. If you want to, cook instead of boiling it in water, you put it into Coke, ginger ale, or if you really want to be adventurous, into some cider. But don't blame us if you do that and you're a bit tipsy for the day. You have another piece of meat here sitting in front of us, James. What's that?
This is a breast of turkey. So obviously this is our whole turkey. So it's oven ready, or it's oven ready. So this is for maybe a big family. Some people like legs, some people like breast. Okay, but nowadays some people just like the breast meat. So this is a breast, and it actually comes from this part of the turkey, from the top part of the turkey. Okay, it's a complete white meat. Actually, what I might do first, I'll just turn over this because it's cooked. I'll just turn over my board, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a completely white meat. So it's a turkey breast, okay? So if you don't like the dark meat or anything, this is ideal, okay? So obviously, I purchased the turkey breast in a shop, And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut a little pocket in it.
All fresh from O'Gorman Meats here in Castledermot.
From O'Gorman, that's it.
Based here up in the square in Castledermot, and go in there, and Ollie and Brendan will look after you folks.
Now, if you like, you can do your stuffing in the tray. If not, you can actually just stuff your turkey breast. So all we do is we'll just put in a couple of little balls of turkey, or of the stuffing, and just keep going the whole way along. Just keep rolling it in your hands and going along with it, okay? So when we get that done, all we have to do then is just flap it over, okay? And we can put that then into our roasting dish that's here, as is. And we can cook that in the oven. And the same thing again, if we want, we can add some fresh herbs to it. We can add some basil. You know, you could add some coriander. You know, and if you like, you could use a roasting bag, or you could actually cover it in tin foil. And that's the exact same thing again. When that reaches a temperature of 75 degrees, it's cooked through.
Okay, 75 degrees, folks. That's the number to remember. Now, I'm telling you now, folks, that is the number to remember here tonight.
75, that's it.
75, that's it, that's it. So that's a lovely, lovely turkey breast there, James, our crown.
Yeah.
And we had our ham. We had our full turkey.
Yeah.
Now, James, what about people who say, I just couldn't eat turkey or ham? There's an old tradition, I suppose, like we were talking about, coming back. And tell us a little bit about that.
This is something that was created in Cork years ago. It's spice beef. So it's basically Irish corned beef, and it's pickled. And then what we do after about 2 weeks, we rub spices into it, and we leave the spices then on it for another 4 weeks. So this has come back big time. Now, the thing with spice beef is you don't need much, because obviously you have your turkey, you have your ham, stuffing, veg, everything that's going with your dinner. So the spice beef is actually, it's a lovely thing, and it's making a comeback. And if you haven't tried it, I would recommend this year, just buy a small amount and try it. But to basically cook it, we would cook it the same as corned beef. So we would boil it the same way as we would do our ham as well. And just leave it cooking in. This little piece now took me about 2 hours to boil.
All right.
And it's been resting. I cooked it yesterday. It's been resting, and it's perfect.
Yeah, and I think we might have convinced Fuzzy to maybe try it if Olivia would buy him a little bit there over the Christmas period. He said that he might try it, Olivia. So if you're listening now, he said there, you know, that he'd give it a go anyway.
Yeah, well, I might actually sell him this bit if he's looking for it as well. So.
There, yeah. You could bring it home. You could bring it for your sandwiches tomorrow, Fuzzy, on the post. Okay, James, that's great. James, like in Ireland here, we have the turkey and the ham, and like you say, we have the spice beef. But we had an old chat there during the week, and there's a lot of, I suppose, new Irish living in Ireland now. We have a lot of other nationalities. Maybe you might just tell our listeners, you know, about different traditions that other nationalities have that you have come across, you know, in your shop. What meats are other nationalities eating at Christmas?
The Polish community love fish. They just love fresh fish, and they love it all year round. But their traditional Christmas dinner would be fresh fish. And we're actually blessed in Ireland because we are an island surrounded by it. So that's something that they would ask for in our shop, is the fresh fish. The Russian community, they seem to like full pigs. So basically it's the head, everything on it. I don't know how to cook it, because the full pig is probably the size of the table, but that's their traditional dinner as well. The Filipino community, they seem to love small pigs, young pigs, and that's their traditional dinner as well. So yeah, and the Muslim community, which started off small in Ireland, is growing every year, and they love lamb. You know, lamb is a big seller to them, and they just love the flavour of lamb. But we're lucky in Ireland, like lamb is young, and it's bursting with flavour, and we've grass everywhere.
Yes, yeah. And James, okay, that's all our meats now, and we might talk a little bit about how are we going to cook our veg, or what veg could we do to go along with all this lovely meat we have.
the type of veg, I'm going back to the carrot and parsnips and celery and things like that. This is the type of veg that I love, and we're blessed in Ireland. It's everywhere. We're full of it. But what we can basically do is just chop our veg. We could put it into a little roasting dish like this, and we could add carrot, parsnip. We could add some celery, things like that. We can add some fresh herbs into it as well, some coriander, some basil, and cook it in an oven, and just halfway through it, maybe just put a little bit of honey on it, and it just gives it lovely flavour. So instead of going for the traditional boiled veg, you could just add a roasted veg to your dinner. And obviously then we can go on to the potatoes, because we're lucky to, we buy all our potatoes from our cousins, and we have for years and years, and they're great. They're a great grower of rooster potatoes in Ireland, and the rooster is just lovely and floury.
Yeah, and James, I'm going to give them a shout out here, because again, they're great supporters of different things going on in Castledermot and of us here in Radio Castledermot. So that's Johnstown Potatoes there, out in Johnstown, McGaney. Yeah. And so if you want, their potatoes are available locally here. I know you can get them in O'Gorman Butchers on the square in Castledermot, who are proud sponsors of what matters here in Radio Castledermot. So again, James, thanks for your sponsorship.
Yeah, you're welcome, and we will continue it.
And so, James, we're after cutting up our veg, and we have it in the roasting dish. And would we glaze the veg with anything sometimes?
Honey. I'd like honey. Balsamic vinegar is another one, but honey is a favourite of mine because it just helps it to sweeten it. And obviously another nice thing to do too, obviously we've boiled our potatoes, so we're going to do a nice mashed potato with our veg. So obviously we'd peel our potatoes, we'll boil them until they're soft, we'll mash them, we'll add some little bit of Kerrygold butter, we'll add salt and pepper, and we'll just mash them until we get them nice and creamy.
Yep.
And another lovely thing to do too is a roast potato. And some people get the roast potatoes and they put them into olive oil or, and just finish them in an oven. You can half boil them and finish them in the oven. But one thing I like, and it's coming back big time too, it's goose fat. And if you glaze the potatoes in that and finish them in the oven, you'll get a lovely crispy, like the chips, the traditional chips that you get in the chippers, and you get that lovely crispy.
Yes.
The goose fat or that natural fat seems to make it nice and crispy, and that's something I would like on my roast potatoes.
All right. James, I don't know whether this is a good question to ask a butcher, but somebody is after asking a question up there. What would a vegan cook at Christmas?
A vegan, sure, just...
All the veg?
All the veg.
All the veg,
and you could do like a nice lasagna, vegan lasagna. Do you know what I mean? Something like that, yeah.
Well, I suppose a lot of time they wouldn't be calling into O'Gorman Butchers here on the square in Castledermot. And so we have our veg. We're going to roast our veg. And James, I suppose Christmas dinner wouldn't be Christmas dinner without a few Brussels sprouts.
Brussels sprouts, that's one thing. And Brussels sprouts are actually lovely because you can obviously use them in your steamer, you could boil them or whatever, but if you could half boil them and just cut them, put them into another little roasting dish and add little bits of bacon.
Oh, do you know something, James? Yeah. The great Siobhan did that last week.
Yeah.
And she asked our lads at home, you'd show them a Brussels sprout, and they'd run a mile.
Yeah. And
she said to them, would any of you like to try the Brussels sprouts?
Yeah.
And I said, Brussels sprouts? He said, yeah, here they are here. And she put a few on my plate, and then she showed them to the lads. And they all tried them, well, all bar one, because one lad, if he sees green, that's the end of it. And they all looked for more.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful.
Brussels sprouts are lovely, and they're even more lovely when they're roasted like that, little bits of bacon, and obviously then just add another little bit of butter.
A little bit of Kerrygold. You have that in Ireland too.
That's it.
So that's great, James. So we have our veg.
Our soup. Yeah.
We started off, okay, we have our soup. And our soup, like James said, is the easiest thing in the world to make.
Simple.
I could even manage that myself now. We'll boil up it, then we'll put the stock in, we'll liquidize it, we'll do it on Christmas Eve, and it'll be ready for Christmas Day.
Yep.
Then we're coming along and we have all our meats, and we're after going through how to cook the meats. and we know the temperature that the turkey is going to be cooked at. And then we have all our veg and how to cook our veg. We did how to make the stuffing and how to stuff our turkey, how to stuff our turkey crown, and our locally produced veg and potatoes. Like James said, folks, it's 10 kilometres. He didn't move any further than 10 kilometres to get anything that's sitting on the table here this evening. So that's absolutely brilliant for a small little village like we have here in Castledermot, that we can locate everything within 10 kilometres of where we live. So absolutely brilliant. And we might go on in a second, James, and we might talk about different ideas that people can have for their dessert on Christmas Day. But before we go there, James, what about going back, and what was the O'Gorman household like on the square in Castledermot when you were growing up?
Well, the dinner that I would remember is what we've cooked here tonight. There was always a soup, and it was always the meat and the veg and everything, and it was always fresh. And I remember talking to my dad a couple of years ago, and organic veg is actually getting bigger and bigger every year. But I had a discussion with my dad one time, and he said years ago everything was organic. Do you know, and that's the sad thing. We've moved in the last few years to intensive farming, where we have all these greenhouses and everything growing the type of veg that we have today. But if we go back to the traditional way of growing stuff, and that you'll get more flavour. Like the carrots nowadays, you know, some of them, there's more flavour in them than there was a couple of years ago. So
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. And your father was right in what he said, like years ago, everything was organic. And if you look at all the old houses, I suppose, and the older houses that are out there, and just look around Castledermot as well, like, you know, there's houses, and every house had at least half an acre with it. You know, any house out built in the country, all the council houses that were built, they all had a little bit of land with them. And that land was used by the people to grow their own veg.
Yeah, but it's actually going back that way, because in the last couple of years now we can see a big movement towards buying locally produced stuff and things like that. Instead of trying to buy an avocado that's coming from South America, that's coming 3,000 miles to our table, when we are so used to growing up with the likes of this vegetables and this type of meats and everything that we can get here, like. Without a shadow of a doubt. And I remember when I was growing up, and we had the potatoes and the veg and all in the garden, and you'd have the pit for the potatoes. Yeah, you would,
You know, and I know my father-in-law, Liam Kelly, still grows all his own potatoes and all his own veg. Like, we get potatoes, okay, we have to go over and help him pick them, but we've potatoes for the year, you know, all grown, all organic, and grown by my father-in-law, Liam Kelly, so I better give him a shout out here for that.
My own father-in-law, Billy Hutton, the very same. Billy grows all his own vegetables, has done it all his life, and I have to say, like, sometimes his onions are a little bit smaller than them, but they're bursting with flavour.
That's it.
Absolutely, yeah.
And we're going to go on and talk about the desserts now, James, but I want to tell you, because you're probably not watching the comments that are coming in, but there's some absolute brilliant comments coming in there for you, James, and all the great ideas that you're giving people. Everyone out there is very appreciative of it, and I think there you have been likened to Jamie Oliver and the like. So well done on that.
Yeah, thank you.
And James, folks, he has attended some cooking demonstrations with one of our own here in Ireland, with Nevin Maguire. And he attended, you used to attend, when Nevin used to do demonstrations, you used to provide meat and that to him at times. Yeah, we used to provide the meat, and Nevin always, he's just a pure gentleman, but he would ask you up and he would ask you to talk about where the meat came from, how long you would age it, the type of animals and breeds and everything that it came from. But I'll always remember something that stuck out in my mind. He always said, cook what you like. Do you know what I mean? Like, we can talk about parsnips and carsnips and things like that tonight, but if you don't like that particular veg, just buy the veg that you like and cook the things that you like, and don't be afraid of cooking. Do you know what I mean? It's simple enough once you get into it. Do you know what I mean? And it's far more enjoyable to cook something that, you know, that you can sit down on a day, like on your family day, your Christmas day, because what's happened in the last few years, I suppose, we've been all over the place. We've been with kids organising, you know, football matches and everything. So families
throughout the year are gone everywhere, or gone every day. But Christmas Day is the one day that there's nothing on that you can sit down and enjoy a meal like this.
Yes, yeah. And James, before we move on to the desserts, our listeners here in Radio Castledermot, do you know what to love? As well as listening to me, of course, and listening to Fuzzy and listening to Leo and looking at all the magnificent graphics that the genius Tommy O'Connell does. But they love a competition.
Oh,
so you can't beat a good competition. Sure you can't, James.
Definitely not.
Without a shadow of a doubt. So, folks, our competition tonight is a voucher for nowhere else except O'Gorman Meats. And the voucher has been very kindly sponsored by the Whelan family in Abbeylands. So a huge thanks to the Whelan family in Abbeylands. We had Lily on here at our last show, and I had Ger on the show before that. So thanks a million to the Whelans, and again thanks a million to O'Gorman Meats, who are the main sponsor of What Matters here. So
O'Gorman Meats, your local winning butchers, serving the local community for generations, and proud to sponsor Radio Castledermot.
Okay, so folks, the question, and you can text your answer in to my phone, and the number will be up on the screen, 087 226 5103. And the question is, what temperature should you cook your turkey to? So what temperature should you cook your turkey to? James is after telling us there a few times, and I did tell you to remember it. That was a very important number for tonight. So you can text or WhatsApp your answers in. So James, we'll move on now to the desserts. And what can people, do for the dessert on Christmas Day?
Desserts, there's such a wide variety of stuff out there at the minute. I'm a lover of Christmas pudding, and it's just something like you said there, we talked about earlier on, it's something I grew up with, and it's something I like, with obviously cream, custard, things like that. But nowadays we're actually fortunate, we've moved on to the cheesecakes, the chocolate fudge cakes, the roulades, do you know what I mean? So we have a massive amount of variety out there with desserts and that.
All right, yeah, you talked about the Christmas pudding, and again, going back to the Phelan household, and my mother, Kathleen, she always does the Christmas pudding and the Christmas cake for us. And she'll never come up with the Christmas pudding without bringing up the brandy butter.
Brandy butter, yeah.
The brandy butter, the cream, and the Christmas pudding is a favourite dessert up in the Phelan household on the 25th of December. So, James, listen, I want to say thanks a million for coming in. I think we're after getting some great ideas from James, and all the desserts that James talked about are available up in O'Gorman Meats. And Penny and Anya up there, absolutely brilliant, James. Yeah. And the two lads behind the counter, I have to say as well, Ollie and Brendan.
Two good butchers.
Two great butchers, and always have a very kind word for anybody who goes in. And it doesn't matter whether it's the start of the day or the end of the day, when they're getting a bit tired or whatever, they always have time for you. If you go in and you don't know what you want, they'll talk to you, they'll advise you and all that. So that's great. So James, thanks a million. We're going to have a bit of a break, so remember to send in your answers, because we're going to have a second competition tonight as well. So we're not only giving away one prize tonight, we are giving away a second prize. So get your answers in quickly for our first competition. And we're going to take a break, we're going to have some music, and then we'll be right back after the break with the great Laura Dunn from Life Pharmacy. So thanks a million, James.
O'Gorman Meats, your local winning butchers, serving the local community for generations, and proud to sponsor Radio Castledermot.